This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Shall we begin? Let's begin. Shall we begin?
Idea Podcast, where we share, discuss, and interview people from all over who live a nomadic lifestyle. Whether it's a full-time RVer, a van lifer, those living in a schoolie, or someone who lives a more minimal lifestyle, this podcast is for you. We share the whys, the how-tos, and answer your questions live with those looking to live this alternative lifestyle. We are Scott and Ariane from This Nomadic Idea, and this podcast is for you.
By the way, this podcast is sponsored by Blueberry Hosting. Blueberry Podcast Hosting is the easiest and most simple way to host your podcast, yet powerful to incorporate a professional podcast. If you are using WordPress, all you have to do is produce your podcast, write your blog post, and publish. It's that easy. Get on all the major podcatchers. Also, just go to thisnomadicidea.com, click on the Blueberry banner, and receive 1 free month hosting just for listening to this podcast. That's Blueberry Podcast Hosting.
This is episode 4, Alice Peters. On this episode, we talk with Alice Peters, who decided to chuck it all and live in a Class C RV as a solo female traveler. What has she learned about a life she's never intended to jump into? How has her life shifted since? And of course, how does she support herself in this lifestyle?
Alice!
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. In full disclosure, we know Alice. Alice knows us and met us from our other podcast, Trust the Trail, and we kidnapped her and took her backpacking on an island. So
Thankfully, it was such a good time. And if you weren't going to mention that, I was getting ready to plug Trust the Trail podcast.
Well, what was cool about meeting you was that, you know, I had no idea. We had no idea that you were living in a Class C and had gone full time. I think that kind of came out as we were getting ready to go backpacking and putting the trip together. And you're like, yeah, well, you know, parking is kind of like, it's kind of an issue for me because, you know, are you driving an RV? And I'm like, what? What do you mean you drive an RV? And so that whole kind of thing came out. And when you showed up in our sketchy little campsite by the lake in this beautiful Class C with the biggest solar panel I've ever seen in my life, like off the side of him, like, oh yeah, we have to get to know this girl's story. So This is really the other half of us getting to know Alice Peters, because we want to know. We've never really had time to sit down and talk about it. So we're very excited to hear about how you got started and what kind of formed your decision in saying, you know what, I think I'm going to go live in an RV full time. So how did that happen for you?
Yeah. So I actually technically think it's a Class B. Just to clarify, I don't know what a Class C is, so I was just told that this is a Class B. But it's something I've always wanted to do, right? I love to travel. I have a really hard time staying in one place for very long. And about a year ago, I was able to get a new job where I'm working remotely. And so 3 months into that job, I decided, I had some life circumstances change and nothing holding me back really anymore. And I just decided to jump into it. My boss was really supportive, and so far it's worked out pretty well. And that was 10 months ago.
So you're coming up on a year, and when you first went out there, were you like, hey, I'm kind of trepidatious about it, or did you it sounded like you just kind of went in, like jumped in the pool, both feet in the water, got soaking wet, and like you just went for it? Is that kind of how?
Yeah, I mean, I bought the RV. I bought it used in Southern California, and the guy that I purchased it from, he had installed the solar panels, but they were all hooked up to one battery. I mean, you've seen the solar panels. There are 4 massive solar panels on this thing, 2 on the sides and 2 on the top. So the battery was getting warped. And there are certain things like, I don't know, there was carpet from 20 years ago and it smelled like cat pee and it was pretty gross. So it took about a month, maybe 2 months tops to kind of rewire the solar panels with my uncle and install more batteries and rip out the flooring, and do that. So I had a good 2 months of time where I could research on how to actually live this way. But there's only so much research you can do. You just have to do it. And
Right.
yeah, just like I can't stay in place for too long, I can't think about a decision for too long either. I just go for it. So I went for it.
How did that whole, when you decided to go, were you moving out of an apartment, a house? What was your paring down situation? Because obviously you had to pare down.
Right. So I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment at that time, and I just got rid of everything. This is how much I didn't plan. I didn't give myself enough time to sell everything. So I ended up donating pretty much all of my possessions, and it felt amazing. It felt really good to just get rid of everything. I think I kept 3 boxes, and I kept them at my sister's house in San Diego, and I was just there. I don't even know why I kept that stuff. I ended up giving it away. And now literally every single possession that I have is inside this little RV.
How long did it take for you to go back to those 3 boxes and kind of reround on if you needed those things?
Yeah. Well, I was on the road for 6 months before I went back and saw the stuff. So 6 months. And I looked at it. I kept some books. I kept some pictures. I kept some coffee memorabilia. And that was it. I just fit them into my last little bit of storage in here and got rid of the rest. So really, once you're away from it for a little bit and you go back to it, you realize you don't need it. I mean, there's no point. There's no point. So yeah, it felt really good.
And so you live with a dog, a small dog with a huge personality. His name is Wally.
Yeah.
How did he adjust to it? Was that easy for him? What was that like?
So he loves being new places and getting to explore new places because we go walking and hiking all over the country now. He doesn't like the driving part of it. So, and I think he's afraid of his own shadow. And he was usually in his little bed next to me when we would be driving. And one day the fridge flew open and all the contents came out, and it scared him so bad that now he has to be in my lap whenever we're driving, or he just sits there and shaking and staring at me. So the driving part of it, he still hasn't really adjusted to, but getting to be new places, he loves it. He loves hanging out by the fire at night, and he loves just being able to roam around and explore. So it's worked out well.
Well, I can see that. I think the first time when we put stuff in the van, I wasn't really used to driving the van, and I turned a corner and it all fell over, and I think I had a stroke. I mean, it's pretty scary because it's very loud. I can understand Wally saying, "Hey, Ma, I'm willing to do the whole travel thing, but I'm going to I need some lap time.
You need some parameters.
I need some parameters on this whole thing."
Right.
I would ask you, how do you go about determining how much travel you do and versus how much stationary time, and how long did it adapt you to kind of get into a rhythm?
I feel like I'm still finding that rhythm, to be honest. a lot of it has to do with, I mean, so I'm also seeing customers. I have customers all over the US. So that informs my decisions, right? I have customers in Flagstaff. So I spent a week in Flagstaff. And that's a big one. But also if I find a spot that I like there was a spot, probably my favorite boondocking spot so far up in Washington. And I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it was right by a lake. It was beautiful. There was no one else around. There was a ton of hiking nearby that I didn't have to drive to. And I ended up staying there for, I think, 10 days, which is the longest I've stayed anywhere since taking off. So I don't think that I'll ever find a groove there, find a rhythm. I think that I just always try to be flexible. I always try to see customers when I can. But if a place is speaking to me and I want to stay there longer, I stay there longer. Or, but I've had one weird encounter where I got a little uncomfortable with someone that was also boondocking nearby. And so I left. I didn't have to stay. So I try to leave it open.
Well, I think that's the cool part of the RV life and the nomad life is that if you want to stay somewhere, you can stay somewhere. You just have that option available to you all the time. If you don't want to be somewhere, you live, your home is on wheels. And so you can just drive to the next location. So, so tell us a little bit about, your job and how you're earning, your livelihood on the road.
Right. I am a green coffee broker. So I work for a company that we import green coffee from all over the world. And then it's my job to go out and sell it to small roasters. So not your Starbucks, not your Pete's, but your little shops that are becoming more and more popular, with more specialized coffee and So it's a trader, whatever you want to call it.
Do you have a lot of this coffee in your RV now?
I do.
So if things go bad, we really need to hook up with you. So please make your schedule available. So
I have plenty of coffee. I have a way to roast it. And it's funny, people can't really wrap their head around having limited space. So I just saw a friend yesterday in Albuquerque, and he sent me with a case of cold brew, a case of canned tea, and probably 9 to 10 pounds of coffee. And I had to explain to him I didn't have any room for it, but he insisted. So
we've got a mailing address anytime.
Yeah, we can store if you need, if you need to offshoot that coffee, please let us know.
Yeah.
We'd be, and if you need taste testers, we'd be more than happy to do that for you. Absolutely, for sure.
I'll get right on that, guys.
So do you find in the job that you've selected, do you find yourself supporting smaller businesses because that's really kind of where you're tailoring your focus to, or does it not really impact any of your decisions?
No, absolutely. That's a really good way to put it. I see the value in small mom and pop shops. So I always, if I can, I'll always buy local. There's a lot of really cool sustainability movements within the coffee industry, and that's really impacted me too, trying to cut back on single-use plastic and things of that nature. And it's really changed a lot of what I do, because I see my customers, people I speak to on a daily basis, they're small business owners. And I see how impactful business is for them and their families, and I get to know their families. And it's definitely changed the way that I buy.
And now, has living this life for the last 9 months, 10 months, has that altered your thought process in general, and how so?
Yeah, less is more. Really, I've gained some confidences that I think I was lacking before, just kind of having to be out here and figure everything out on my own, not having to rely on anyone or having anyone to rely on, has made me more confident. And I can see the way that I talk to my customers. I can see that. I can see, no, you don't need, I'm not afraid to tell them now, you don't need 8 different coffees in your menu. Pick 2 that you really like, or just things that maybe I would have shied away from before because it was too, I don't know, too much of a people pleaser or something.
That's interesting. That I don't think I've heard that. I don't think I've heard that from anyone about going out. What do you think contributes to that? Do you think it's, you yourself have to, you're accountable to you, you're responsible for you, and you have to make, better decisions because you are living on the road. What do you think? What do you think contributes to like a little bit of more confidence?
I think it's having encountered problems and overcome them myself. Really, I think that's the biggest thing. And trusting myself, right? Trusting myself to make all of the decisions, trusting myself to figure out where I'm going to sleep tonight and where, I maybe once or twice a month I get an RV park so I can do laundry and take an extra long shower. But otherwise I don't have a plan really. So really just trying to decide, make decisions, trust myself in those decisions, follow through on those decisions. But mainly I think it's been overcoming issues that normally I would have just called somebody, called my dad or called my uncle to try to help me through them.
Right. Very, very cool.
So I have to ask, you're kind of doing this alone. Has loneliness been a big factor for you when you're out there, or has it been kind of nice as a change?
Yeah, both. Definitely both. Yeah. Of course. I feel like that's my answer to everything. This it's never yes or no. But I recently spent a week in New York and New Jersey at my company's main office. And by the end of that week and being surrounded by people for a week straight, I was so ready to get out of there. And I like my coworkers. I like my boss, but I was just done. I was done. But at the same time, if I, say I'm boondocking for 10 days in one spot and I'm barely having a conversation with someone in person, that gets old too. So
right.
I try to make sure to see people if I'm near a friend or customer or a family member. I always try to make sure I break up the spots where I'm alone, right? So it's never too much of anything. So it's definitely been both.
Would you say that kind of any potential loneliness drives your factor to move forward? Move on.
Okay. Like move on to the next town or next stop. Yeah, definitely. I may have taken more time in Washington by myself, but I had a friend in Bremerton I could go see, and I probably left a couple days earlier than I would have, so I could go spend some time with her and her family. Because it's not, especially when you're boondocking too, it's different when you're at a campground or an RV park. It's fine to walk up to people and start chatting, but when you're boondocking, man, people they want time to themselves. Not everyone obviously, but they don't always want to chat or hang out, so it can get really lonely. It can.
Well, we've got some questions from our YouTube chat group, and this is a good one. New Horizons, they're a YouTube channel. They've got a great question for you. Question: do you feel safe traveling by yourself and camping by yourself?
I do. Yeah. So in all this time, I've only had one instance where nothing even really happened. It was just more of just a vibe that I got from someone that was nearby me and feeling like they were getting a little too close to the RV and talking really loudly. And I just, they weren't aggressive. They didn't say anything out of the ordinary, but I just got a really bad vibe. So I left, but that only happened one time. And otherwise I have felt 100% safe.
Justin and Christina's RV Van Life, which is a great YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't caught it. Justin and Christina's RV Van Life they ask, how do you decide where you go next? And that's probably part of your job too, right?
Yeah. But that's a really hard one because I want to go and be everywhere. I want to see everything. So that's probably the toughest part of this whole lifestyle is trying to figure out where to go next. So I do try to make sure that if there's somewhere I want to go, I make sure that there are customers along the way. I'm meeting with an awesome group of friends out in Kentucky soon, and so that kind of making my way out there. And trade shows, I have to do some travel for work that I just can't really get around. So trade shows are a big thing. Thank God. Otherwise I probably just wouldn't be able to get to go anywhere. I would be, what is it? Paralysis by analysis.
Right.
I wouldn't go anywhere. Yeah.
Well, Randy from Randy's Adventure. Now, Randy goes camping in the winter in a little guy Max camper.
I've seen those. Those are cool.
I know, right? And so she's tough. She likes those winter big snow camping trips in Minnesota. But she has a statement. She just says, "I love Alice." That's her statement. I love Alice. So I love that. That's very, very cool.
Thanks, Randy. I hope I get to meet you.
Steve Turtle. Also great, another great YouTube channel. Steve Turtle, can you tell us about she doesn't have a van. Can you tell us about your van setup? What do you have and what upgrade are you planning? Maybe he's asking us about our van.
No.
You don't have a van, do you, Alice?
No. No. I mean, it's kind of an in-between, right? So it's a van chassis. It's a van.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So maybe that's what he means by that.
Okay.
Class B, Class C. It's a mix.
Yeah, whatever.
A, B, C.
It's a morph.
It has wheels to get into bed. That's fine.
But yeah, so what is your setup? And I guess, do you like it? And kind of, are you planning on doing any more adjustments now that you're living in it?
Yeah. So it's called a Dynamax Core Starflight. They don't make them anymore. And it's a Chevy chassis and engine, which works great. It has a lot of power. And my sister actually got a speeding ticket, her first speeding ticket ever in this RV. But it's, it's 21 feet. I have a tiny little hitch on the back where I can keep my hoses and things like that. I upgraded the floors and I sanded and stained the cabinets, and then installed the solar panels. I don't think I will do anything else, really, to be honest.
You're happy?
I ripped out the bed and put a new bed in, because those jackknife beds are just horrible. Those things are bad. And other than upkeep, I don't think I'm going to change anything. I like it.
So, Mama Mac, has a question, Mama Mac. Have you found that you donated items that you wish you would have kept? She says, every time I donate a bunch of stuff, I find myself looking for an item I donated a week later.
I have a horrible memory, so I don't even remember that I have it. I mean, I don't know what I donated. I just know what I have left. I don't, and I still lose things in here, but no, I don't miss any of it. None of it.
You probably gave the best piece of advice to anybody looking to minimize their life. Just have a terrible memory. You won't forget it.
Right.
You won't miss it.
Right.
This is the key to donating your belongings.
That could be the key to downsizing.
It could
It
be.
could
Right.
be.
Right.
I think you're onto something there.
So Steve Turtle also asks, Alice, have you ever considered creating a YouTube channel? Why not? Why or why not?
Yeah. No, I haven't considered it. I have to be at my computer a lot for work. And I just find myself not wanting to be anywhere near it when I'm not working. Right.
Yep.
And I have a way of making money remotely, so I don't need it for that. I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
You listen to podcasts.
I do. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Thank heaven you do.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise, I would have never met you two.
This is a good question. New Horizons again. New Horizons YouTube channel. This is a great question because we haven't asked it yet. How much do you struggle with internet, and how do you handle the internet gig?
Yeah, I have an AT&T hotspot, and I also have my phone is Verizon and can be a hotspot if needed. So I have two different cell towers to work with, and it's never really been an issue. It's definitely slower, and that can be a little frustrating when work is really busy, but it's never stopped me. And sources like Campendium, and I think freecampsites.net. I'm not sure, but you can actually search based on cell coverage. So I just make sure that when I'm trying to figure out where I'm going next, if it's during the week and I have to work, I'll make sure that I check Campendium for coverage, cell coverage.
Well, I've got a question. So, do you use any kind of trip planner app to make sure you're not like going down steep mountain grades, or like how do you navigate to where you have to go next? And do you use any app for that?
No, just Google Maps.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why is that so surprising?
Well,
what should I be using? Now I'm like, what's out there that I'm missing?
We were pulling the Airstream out of southern Georgia, and typically we go the same route all the time. It never changes. We know this route. In fact, we know the route. And of course, the one time, I'm pulling the Airstream, we get on Google Maps, and Google Maps decides, we're just going to take you through the worst way to go. And we started seeing we're in the business district. We started seeing low-lying bridges. We got stopped by a freight train. So it was just like, of course it happened this time.
Right.
But so I was just kind of wondering, I hear a lot of people they kind of look to try to either go the long way. I mean, I know where we were just at Sedona, we used the Campendium app too. We almost froze to death up at 6,000 feet, thinking, it's only 5 miles from my dad's house. But, we were up in the Prescott National Forest. So we're just kind of wondering what app, or if you used an app to look at topography or anything like that.
No, not usually. I probably should, but I don't.
Wally is your guide.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, very, very cool.
We have got another question from Justin and Christina's RV van life. What do you do with your dog when you aren't in the RV?
Ooh, great question.
I use when I'm not in the RV, I guess, meaning like when I'm running errands or like in the grocery store.
Or if you have a meeting at work or whatever, however that works for you.
Yeah. So I try to take him almost everywhere with me. I mean, he was at a customer's with me yesterday. Or if a customer wants to go to dinner, I tell them we have to go somewhere with patio because I have a dog I need to bring with.
What
So
did you do when you went on a backpacking trip with us for 5 days?
Yeah, I used an app called Rover.
Right.
And it connects you with dog sitters all over the country. So when I had to fly to New York for work, Wally stayed in Phoenix with a girl, and it's reviewed, right? So you can other people tell you their experience, and you can choose people based on that. It's really affordable, and so far so good.
Steve Turtle has asked a question. Are you drinking coffee now this late?
No, this is it's actually tea. It's from the case of tea that my friend forced upon me. It's
part of the care package. I see there's no beer left.
Yeah.
New Horizons also asked another question. Do you only camp in places where it's warm and do not camp in places with cold and snow?
No, I actually gravitate to the cold. I'm originally from Minnesota, and I love the cold. I can't stand the heat. And my dog specifically, more so. I think he has worse heat tolerance than even I do. So I try to stay where it's cold. But I've also had my pipes freeze on me in Wyoming, and I've had to hightail it out of there. And I mean, it's definitely a balance. I try to find cold, but not too cold.
What do you do when your pipes freeze? You just drive south? Is that the plan to fix? Is that the fix?
Yeah. No, I drove west. I probably should have driven south, but I drove west.
But that's the plan. Like, oh my God, the pipes are frozen. Pack it up. We're driving west.
Yeah. My pipes froze, and I thought that they would thaw quicker. They didn't burst, thankfully. So it wasn't an urgent fix, right? And I thought that they would thaw faster. I had barely a trickle for 3 weeks. Barely a trickle. Wow. And I stayed in here, and I learned just how little water I actually need and should be using. It was a really, really cool lesson.
Yeah, I think the lessons that you learn when you live this lifestyle in whatever form is that you really do, you surprise yourself with how little you can actually adapt to, that you never imagined that you could function without. So that's pretty amazing.
So what do you think as we kind of close out, what do you think is the biggest life lesson that you've really learned being kind of nomadic? I mean, if you had to tell somebody, if they were on the fence, what's this whole nomadic life about? The minimalism, the downsizing. If you could kind of what was that big life lesson for you so far?
Everything's gonna be okay. I mean, it always turns out okay. Your pipe's freezing turns into a cool lesson. That really scary mountain got you to the most beautiful place you've ever been. Like, right. It's a challenge, but it's worth every second.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great way to say it. I mean, the life, you would think you would agree, it's probably not easy, but yet the rewards outweigh the challenges that you have living on the road, I guess.
Right. And the challenges are real challenges. It's not the fake ones that we make in our minds, right? It's real challenges, and overcoming those feels really good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Really super appreciate you coming on our podcast. This is the second podcast you've been on, by the way, with Scott and Ariane. So really appreciate your friendship. We just can't wait to see you. So thank you for coming on. We really super appreciate that. Normally, this is the section where I say, how can people find you?
but you don't want to be found.
Exactly.
But you are social media distancing yourself.
Yes, right. Yeah. I mean, I am comfortable putting my email out there. If anyone wants to email me, if you have questions, comments, concerns, need words of encouragement, it's Al Peters 34 at gmail.com.
Oh, very cool. That's very cool. If anybody has nomad questions or RV questions or really solo female questions, Alice is the perfect person to ask. You'll already know the short answer if you say, what happens when my pipes freeze? You already got that answer. Go west, which is a great answer. I think that's a great answer. What happens if this go west?
Yeah.
What happens go west?
Yeah.
I think it's a great answer for everything.
Yeah.
Go west.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Alice, for coming in and sharing your story, advice, and even a way to be inspired and inspire others through providing contact. We thank every single one of our listeners for joining in and engaging with Alice. You can join our This Nomadic Idea Podcast community group on Facebook and get exclusive content. There's a link to our group in our Facebook page, This Nomadic Idea. Thank you all for your support on episode 4.
Our podcasts are available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or any of your favorite podcatchers. You can also follow us on Instagram, This Nomadic Idea. And remember that all great achievement in life started with just a small, tiny idea. So go live the life that you want. Again, thank you, Alice Peters, for coming on and being our guest on This Nomadic Idea Podcast. We will see you all later. Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Okay, Alice, thank you so much, man. That was awesome. Thank
Thank you guys.
So we've got some comments coming in. Not so much questions, but I think people have really, really enjoyed this episode. New Horizon said, "You're such a sweet lady, Alice." And
thanks for calling me a lady.
You probably don't get that often, do you?
No.
And then he also said, New Horizons also said, she reminds me of the Box Vandy Luton traveling alone. So I have to look that up and get the reference there. And then you have such a wonderful head on your shoulders. A huge compliment. So I wanted you to hear from our listeners.
Although I did have to rescue her off the trail one time when she was wandering in the woods on Isle Royale.
You might be a little directionally challenged from time to time, but that's why you have Google Maps.
Yeah, exactly.
We're coming. I'm coming over this rocky bluff, and I look in the distance, and Alice is just wandering around in the woods back there. And I go, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I don't think this is the trail." I go, "I know, I'm on the trail."
There was a cairn down there. I swear to God.
Oh my God, good times. That was really good times. And so, for you guys that ever want to go on one of our adventures, we'll see what happens, but we may be stuck in a cave with Alice pretty soon. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna try to go caving. So we'll see if that works out for all of us.
It will. It'll be fun.
It will.
Everything's always okay, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to email her for words of encouragement.
Oh, it'll be fine. Yeah,
and,
we're gonna
and
have
technically
a blast.
we are going west, so from where we're at, so it's good words of advice.
That's all you need.
Well, look, we really appreciate you being our guest. I sincerely appreciate it. It was very fun to get to chat with you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Until we get to meet up again.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Safe travels, my friend. We'll see you later, okay?
Okay. Sounds good. Have a good night, you guys.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, very cool. she's such a cool chick. That's all I can say. When you
It seems to be the consensus in the room.
when you describe Alice, it's like she's a cool chick. She's just a cool person.
Level-headed,
Yep.
reasonable, free-spirited. It's all good.
And she's got the greatest tagline in the world when things go wrong. Go west.
So go west.
Go west. I love it.
Yeah, Steve Turtle said Alice is definitely definitely glass half full. I would say she's a glass all the way full, even if it's half empty.
Yeah.
She definitely has a very positive attitude, which is why we have gravitated towards her for sure. I wish we could have uploaded a photo. We need to start doing this on these podcasts, upload a photo of people's rigs, because it kind of looks like, if you can think about an RV that's set up for apocalyptic times, and it's like it literally has all the sides are nothing but solar panels.
It's got two of the largest single
It's
solar
insane.
panels I've ever seen on a rig. They almost look like they could like rise up and they could be wings. They
It's
could just like
crazy
take
cool.
off. I mean, they're huge solar panels.
So she was definitely set up for boondocking. But yeah, wish we could have shown a picture of that.
I know. It was
That would have been cool.
Well, I do have a photograph. Unfortunately, it's on the hard drive that just died.
Yes.
So, but I thought about that earlier
technology goes
today,
wrong.
and I wanted to put that photograph on there. So,
Well, Mama Mac, I'm really glad that you enjoyed the podcast. Really glad. People want pictures. Maybe we're going to have to put the picture on the Facebook community page that we were talking about.
yeah, I think
a
that
good
would be
idea.
great. Yeah, that is a good idea. I'll go look for that. Full-time dreams. Sorry, so late. Better late than never. I'm glad you guys came in and at least came in and said hello. Very, very, very cool. Good to see everybody tonight. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Pictures, details, Steve Turtle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys, and sorry that our live streams on Thursday became so inconsistent for a couple weeks, but
We are back.
we're
at
back
it
and
again.
things are going to be kind of normal again, and we need to kind of have a backup plan set up in case. And for last week, for everyone that saw last week, I was using OBS. So I was not using StreamYard, which is usually our platform that we use for streaming to YouTube anyway. I haven't used OBS in a long time, and I had to put it together quick. So I think it came out okay, but you know,
It was entertaining to say the least, and kind of very stressful.
Well, OBS, well, yeah, because
Very
OBS
stressful.
works completely a different way. You have to really set up your scenes, practice. I practiced everything 100 times. I go live and it some audio issue that was terrible. So anyway, we'll do better in the future. The problem is my laptop that I carry with me everywhere, I can't use StreamYard with. It doesn't work. StreamYard does not work with my laptop. It works with Ariane's laptop.
And I would not let him take it for 2 weeks.
She doesn't let me take her things
Why
at
would I?
all.
They're my things.
Apparently, when I went to go get a glass today in the kitchen, and she had candy in front of her, and she almost chopped my hand off.
It's a
I go,
true story.
She actually screamed at me. I go, what? I'm getting a glass for drinks. She goes, oh, I thought you were getting my candy. I'm like, oh, dude.
It's true. It's a true story.
That is a true story.
I felt a little weird after that moment when I realized he was not reaching for my candy.
And the food envy revealed itself.
Yes, it did.
Yep. The food envy snake revealed itself.
It was a little strange. But anyway, this is really sweet comment, Steve Turtle. Thanks for the live stream. I think you two are awesome. Great chemistry. Thanks. That's kind of cool. It's the second comment we've gotten today. Maybe
We like each other.
we do. We do.
We like each other.
It comes in handy. But maybe it has something to do with us being apart for 2 weeks. Maybe.
Oh, thank you, Justin, Christine's RV van life. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I always forget to say give it a thumbs up if you could. We'd really appreciate it. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. That would be very, very cool. I always forget to say that.
Give it a thumbs up
Give it a thumbs up
and go west.
and go west.
Go west.
That should be really the new tagline. Give it a thumbs up and go west.
Actually, that should be the name of the podcast. Go west.
Go west. It could.
We need to start naming our podcast names. Well, you guys, it was really cool. It was really cool getting back to the podcast portion of our Thursday streams because I've missed it.
Yeah.
I've missed it a lot. And I enjoy hearing, I just enjoy hearing how the process goes. And it's so different for everybody. And so thank you for always coming in and listening to the stories that we're providing for you guys.
Yeah. And I think the podcasts are doing really well. So if you want to be on the podcast, shoot us an email. Where the podcast theme is about, minimalism, nomadic living. Justin and Christina, you guys want to come on with the van life stuff? I know you guys are, you're getting ready to start your family. So, let us know. We'll put you on the podcast. I'm surprised at how well the podcast numbers are doing so well. It makes me think we should do weekly instead of bi-weekly, but we're just not there yet. I just don't think, we can do that. That's why we're trying to stay 2 podcasts ahead. So we can do other things on our live stream and stuff like that. I don't want to be like tied to do the podcast all the time. So that's why we're doing trivia night next Thursday for sure. It's going to be trivia extravaganza. And I'm working on this new thing that I think is going to be really cool. Really cool. So come on in for trivia night. Next tomorrow, Joyous Voyagers. Thank you.
And we're not even doing the craft beer tonight.
Drinking. Their podcast is out, and that's available on all the podcatchers, iHeartRadio. And so, so it's going, I think podcasts are going pretty good. I like where things are going. So who else?
That's it.
Anybody else?
Yeah. So we've had a couple people come
William Dickinson. Hello.
But yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Okay, we're going to end. We'll see you guys next Thursday, same time, same place, same bat channel. Remember, use the cuddle word or you'll be demonetized. Just remember, all you YouTubers out there, cuddle.
And Steve Turtle, I might consider giving you a few of the answers depending on how good your videos are this week.
He's asking for the answers to the trivia?
Yes.
Okay. Only a work camper. Only a work camper. Yes, Steve, you're killing me. All right, you guys, we're going to take off and we'll see you guys later next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.